Welcome back to Stoic Reflections, where we dive deep into timeless wisdom to navigate the complexities of modern life. In today's video, we explore the transformative power of Stoicism to help you stop chasing approval and unlock inner peace. If you've ever felt drained by the constant need to meet everyone's expectations, this is the guide you've been waiting for. Together, we'll uncover practical strategies rooted in Stoic philosophy to help you live a life aligned with your values, free from the burden of people-pleasing. Let's embark on this journey toward freedom, confidence, and lasting happiness. Discovering the root causes of people-pleasing behavior. To break free from the habit of constantly seeking approval, it's essential to first understand the underlying reasons behind this behavior. This requires deep introspection, asking yourself critical questions that reveal your inner motivations. Why do you feel compelled to meet others' demands? Is it driven by a fear of rejection, a craving for acceptance, or anxiety about criticism? These answers aren't always obvious, as they often stem from painful past experiences. Perhaps you grew up in an environment where pleasing others was seen as a measure of kindness, or maybe you once found safety and recognition solely through making others happy. Many individuals prioritize others' needs over their own because they undervalue their personal desires. This lack of self-respect leads to seeking validation externally, believing that fulfilling others' expectations will earn you respect or love. But does this truly work, or does it only distance you further from your authentic self? Understanding these deep-seated causes provides clarity about your internal drivers. It opens doors to change while helping you better manage your emotions and reactions. As Epictetus wisely said, people are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them. This reminds us that our perception shapes how we respond to external pressures. When you bravely confront your inner fears and unrealistic expectations, you'll discover a path toward personal freedom and a more meaningful life. Start this journey by being honest with yourself, identifying your core values, and realizing that you don't need to live to please everyone. Doing so liberates you mentally and allows you to live authentically, fostering long-term peace and happiness. Setting clear boundaries to protect your personal values. Establishing clear boundaries is the cornerstone of safeguarding your individuality and ending the cycle of people-pleasing. These boundaries not only help you manage your time and energy, but also affirm who you are and what you value. Yet, many neglect their own needs to accommodate others, leading to exhaustion and confusion. Setting boundaries doesn't mean being selfish or indifferent. On the contrary, it's an act of self-love and respect. As Stephen Covey noted, no one can hurt you without your consent. This aligns perfectly with Stoic philosophy, which emphasizes protecting your personal space and rejecting requests that conflict with your values. By setting boundaries, you define your limits and prevent others from crossing them. This balance ensures you aren't swept away by unreasonable expectations around you. Reflect on this. When was the last time you declined a request because it didn't align with your values? If your answer is rarely or never, it might be time to reassess how you manage personal boundaries. Effective boundary setting requires sincere and clear communication. For instance, when a colleague asks for help while you're busy, instead of agreeing immediately, you could politely respond, "I'd be happy to assist, but I'm currently occupied. Can we discuss this after work?" Such responses not only uphold your boundaries, but also demonstrate respect for others. Boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges fostering understanding and mutual respect. By steadfastly maintaining boundaries, you'll feel freer and cultivate healthier relationships. Remember, setting boundaries is an act of self-love that helps you live according to your values, bringing genuine peace and happiness. Prioritizing your needs to live authentically. In today's fast-paced society, prioritizing your own needs is often misunderstood as selfishness or arrogance. However, from a Stoic perspective, it's both a right and a responsibility to live according to your values and principles. Only when you care for yourself can you effectively radiate positivity and support others. Imagine this scenario: you're on a flight experiencing turbulence, and oxygen masks drop down. The first instruction is always to secure your mask before assisting others. This principle applies beyond airplanes. It's crucial in everyday life. Ensuring your well-being comes first enables you to help others effectively. Similarly, neglecting your needs leads to burnout, disorientation, and a meaningless existence. Prioritizing yourself doesn't mean ignoring others' needs. Rather, it means not letting them overshadow your values and desires. Constantly putting others first makes you live for their expectations, not your own. This imbalance fosters dissatisfaction. Stoic philosophy teaches that prioritizing your needs empowers you to control your life. Ask yourself, what truly matters to me? Which activities bring joy and fulfillment? Answering these questions clarifies your path forward. Decisions based on your values, rather than external pressures, lead to a more meaningful life and strengthen your ability to support others. When you're strong, joyful, and energetic, you inspire those around you. Prioritizing your needs isn't selfish, it's an expression of self-respect and self-love. Identifying core values for a purposeful life. Defining your core values is a pivotal step in escaping the pressure to please others and living authentically. This journey isn't just about self-discovery, it's also about breaking free from societal expectations, guiding your life with clear goals and profound meaning. What are your core values? These are the principles, beliefs, and objectives you hold dearest. Understanding these values prevents you from being swayed by others' incompatible demands. Instead, you'll confidently say no without guilt. Identifying your values builds confidence and anchors your life against external pressures. Consider times you compromised your principles to please someone. Was the loss of autonomy and dissatisfaction worth it? Declining inappropriate requests protects your values and affirms self-respect. Begin by asking, what's truly important to me? What do I want to achieve in life? Which activities or relationships bring me joy and satisfaction? Answering these questions reveals your true path. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that living according to your values gives you inner strength to overcome challenges. Seneca wisely said, "If one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable." Knowing your goals transforms difficulties into opportunities for growth. Living by your values isn't easy. It demands patience, self-awareness, and courage to face internal conflicts and societal pressures. Yet, the rewards are immense. Living authentically brings peace, freedom, and true happiness. Stop hiding your desires to please others. Build a life reflecting your values and goals. When you live authentically, you find life's purpose and inspire those around you. Evaluating requests to uphold values and control your life. A common habit among people-pleasers is hastily saying yes to every request, regardless of its impact on their values and time. Stoic philosophy highlights that carefully evaluating each request before agreeing helps protect your values and control your life efficiently. When someone asks for something, pause and ask, does this align with my goals and values? Will it drain my energy or time meant for higher priorities? Reflecting before reacting offers clarity and avoids unnecessary obligations. Often those making requests exploit your generosity, knowing you struggle to decline. This is when learning to assess whether a request deserves your time and effort becomes vital. For example, if a close friend needs help with a personal project, ask yourself, do I have the time and energy to assist? Does this align with my personal goals? Could they complete this task independently? If the answer is no, politely yet firmly declining is entirely reasonable. Declining doesn't mean undervaluing the relationship or lacking concern. On the contrary, saying no to inappropriate requests demonstrates respect for yourself and others. A sincere refusal protects your time and values while establishing clear boundaries. Evaluating requests also identifies and fosters healthy relationships. Those who genuinely care will understand and respect your decision, recognizing your need to live by your principles. Stoic philosophy underscores that you alone are responsible for managing your time and energy. By assessing requests and declining when necessary, you shield yourself from unnecessary pressures and build a life grounded in true values, offering freedom and profound meaning. Facing conflicts. Opportunities for growth and value affirmation. Conflicts are inevitable. However, for those who strive to please others, conflicts are often seen as personal failures or signs of weakness, prompting avoidance at all costs, even sacrificing personal values. But does this approach truly lead to happiness? Stoic philosophy offers a different perspective. Conflict itself isn't the issue. The problem lies in how we face and evaluate it. Viewed correctly, conflict is a natural part of life and an opportunity for learning and growth. Avoiding conflict suppresses emotions, silences your voice, and erodes your boundaries. Ask yourself, why am I afraid of conflict? Does this fear stem from worrying others won't love or accept me? If yes, recognize that your worth isn't determined by others' opinions. Instead of avoiding, learn to face conflicts rationally and calmly. See conflict as a chance to affirm your values and strengthen relationships. Standing firm in disagreements protects your values and fosters mutual respect. Healthy relationships allow both parties to be themselves, even amidst differences. The Stoic lesson is to view conflict objectively. Conflict itself isn't inherently negative, your reaction defines its impact. When facing conflict, ask, does this contradict my values? Is it worth sacrificing my peace and principles? If not, boldly stand for what you believe. Remember, conflict doesn't necessarily destroy relationships, it can enhance them. If someone demands you abandon your values to maintain the relationship, reconsider its worth. Relationships stifling your growth may not deserve continuation. Facing conflict calmly and rationally reveals it's not as daunting as perceived. Each conflict overcome affirms your values and builds a life based on respect and authenticity. This is the power of living by Stoic philosophy, calm amidst challenges, resilient under pressure, and truthful to yourself. The art of saying no to protect values and control your life. Imagine a day filled with requests from colleagues, friends, and family. If you always say yes to please them, you'll quickly feel exhausted, lose freedom, and gradually lose yourself. Saying no isn't rejecting others' value, it's affirming your own. This is a crucial step to living according to your principles and goals. Stoic philosophy teaches that decisive refusal reflects self-respect and life control. Saying no protects your time and energy, while reinforcing personal boundaries. Ask yourself, do I genuinely want to do this? Does it align with my values and goals? These questions lead to wiser decisions, avoiding the whirlpool of people-pleasing. Learning to say no isn't easy, especially fearing it might harm relationships. However, remember that sincere, polite refusals are often respected more than reluctant agreements. Declining maintains your values and sends a message that you value both yourself and the relationship. For example, if friends invite you to an uncomfortable event, instead of reluctantly agreeing, honestly share, "Thank you for the invitation, but I can't attend this time." This response is polite and respectful to both you and others. Saying no helps focus on what truly matters. Allocating time and energy to your goals and values brings comfort, happiness, and freedom. Instead of striving to meet everyone's demands, build a more meaningful life for yourself. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that true freedom comes from controlling your emotions and decisions. Daring to say no to inappropriate things protects your personal space and strengthens inner resilience. Refusal isn't selfish, it's affirming self-respect and self-love. Learning to say no takes practice, but each time you succeed, you feel stronger, more confident, and closer to your desired life. Start today, courageously decline what doesn't serve your values and goals, and enjoy the resulting freedom. Avoiding excuses when declining. Living truthfully with your values. In life, refusing a request often comes with excuses or explanations to ease discomfort. However, Stoic philosophy encourages abandoning this habit, as refraining from excuses demonstrates with others and helps you live according to your values. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it." This highlights the importance of sincerity in words and actions. Providing excuses when declining gives others opportunities to argue or adjust their requests to fit your reasons. This can place you in a more difficult position and reduce your confidence. Conversely, a clear, sincere refusal without explanation affirms your stance and earns respect. Imagine a friend asks for help while you're busy or simply unwilling. Offering an excuse like having something more important might prompt them to persuade you by adjusting their request. But saying directly, "Sorry, but I can't help this time," avoids unnecessary pressure and maintains respect for both yourself and others. Avoiding excuses when declining doesn't mean being rude or cold. Instead, it shows respect for both parties' feelings and time. Sincerity in refusal communicates that you value the relationship but also know how to protect your values and limits. Learning to decline without excuses brings freedom and ease. You won't live fearing perfect excuses or guilt for declining others' requests. This focus helps build a life based on truth and self-respect. Remember, a simple, straightforward refusal is the most effective way to protect your values. It controls your life and earns respect from others. Don't hesitate to decline when necessary, as it helps you live authentically and demonstrates inner strength and confidence in decisions. Start today, courageously say no without excuses, and enjoy the resulting peace. Accepting that you can't please everyone. The first step toward freedom and meaning. A crucial turning point in abandoning people-pleasing habits is accepting that you can't please everyone. While seemingly simple, this is a significant challenge for many, driven by fears of rejection, judgment, and the desire for acceptance. Stoic philosophy teaches that seeking universal approval is a meaningless burden hindering you from living authentically. Marcus Aurelius said, "Happiness comes when you stop worrying about things beyond your control, and others. Satisfaction is one such thing." Spending your life trying to please everyone only exhausts you and causes you to lose yourself. Imagine walking a tightrope, constantly fearing a misstep will cost you others' acceptance. Is it worth it? Reality is, no one can please everyone. Even historical figures like Socrates, who challenged societal norms, faced severe criticism. Yet, Socrates lived truthfully according to his philosophy and values, becoming a symbol of courage and inner freedom. Ask yourself, are those you're trying to please truly important enough to sacrifice your joy and peace? The answer might surprise you. When you stop seeking external approval and start listening to yourself, you realize true acceptance comes from within, not from others. Accepting that you can't please everyone liberates you from meaningless pressures and helps build a more meaningful life. You'll have more time and energy for important relationships, goals and values. Additionally, this develops confidence and resilience against criticism or negativity. Stoic philosophy encourages not wasting life trying to adjust others' emotions and thoughts. Instead, direct your energy toward enriching life as you wish. Accepting that pleasing everyone is impossible brings lightness, freedom, and readiness to face the world with a firm mindset. Remember, true freedom isn't about meeting others' expectations but living truthfully with yourself. From today, courageously step past the fear of rejection, live according to your values, and enjoy life as you deserve. Starting with small challenges. The path to freedom and peace. Changing the habit of pleasing others is challenging, especially when deeply ingrained in your lifestyle and thinking. However, instead of attempting immediate change, start with small challenges. Each small step builds a solid foundation for confidence and self-control, leading to a free, value-aligned life. Imagine a simple scenario. You receive an inner invitation, but feel uncomfortable or unwilling to attend. Instead of reluctantly agreeing, gently decline. "Thank you for the invitation, but I can't attend this time." This small action has a significant impact, showing that declining isn't as hard as thought and giving a sense of life control. Starting with small challenges is crucial because people-pleasing habits often stem from fear. Our brains tend to maintain old habits due to familiarity and safety. Gradually making small changes breaks old patterns and establishes new, positive ones. Small challenges build confidence and help discover your values. Each time you say no to inappropriate requests, you see more clearly what truly matters in your life. This guides actions according to personal values, not others' desires. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that every decision is an opportunity to practice self-control and affirm values. Accepting small challenges is like training mental muscles. Initially difficult, consistent practice makes you stronger and more confident facing bigger challenges. Remember, change doesn't need perfection. There will be setbacks or difficulties, but every effort, however small, progresses toward your desired life. Learning to decline unnecessary things and focus on true values brings freedom, peace, and profound meaning to life. Start today with the smallest challenges. Say no when you truly want to, dare to decline what doesn't align with your values, and gradually build a life fully under your control. This is how you overcome fear, liberate yourself from pressure, and live freely and meaningfully. The journey to stop pleasing others isn't easy, but it brings freedom, confidence, and lasting happiness. Applying Stoic principles transforms your life positively, stronger decision-making, calmness under pressure, and living authentically. Start small, dare to decline what doesn't align, and live a life worth living. Share your story, spread these lessons, and together, let's build a world full of meaning and peace. Stay tuned for an engaging discussion between Liam and Emma, our special guests, who will delve deeper into how Stoic philosophy can revolutionize modern relationships and personal growth. Their insights promise to be both enlightening and transformative.
Let's be honest, have you ever felt like you're constantly juggling everyone else's needs and you're just completely drained, almost like you're kind of on autopilot, saying yes when you really want to say no?
Yeah, it's a common struggle. A lot of people, a lot of us have like deeply ingrained people-pleasing habits.
That's exactly what we're diving into today.
Correct.
We're going to be using this video transcript on Stoicism to
Right.
uncover some powerful strategies for breaking free from that people-pleasing cycle and reclaiming our own energy and authenticity.
What I find interesting about this source is It goes beyond the surface level of Stoicism. It doesn't just like tell us to control our emotions.
Right.
It digs deep into how we can apply Stoic principles specifically to overcome this people-pleasing pattern.
Okay, so let's get to the heart of the matter. Why do we find ourselves constantly saying yes, even when we want to say no? The source starts by asking some thought-provoking questions. Are we terrified of rejection? Are we desperately seeking approval? Or maybe it's something else entirely. What do you think?
I think that's a brilliant place to start. This source argues that often people-pleasing stems from a deep-seated fear of not being good enough. We seek validation from external sources instead of trusting our own inner compass.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like we're outsourcing our self-worth to other people, hoping they'll give us like the stamp of approval.
Yeah.
If they don't, we feel like we've failed.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is that the source connects this back to the core of Stoic philosophy. It's not external events that cause our suffering, but our own perceptions and interpretations of those events.
So it's not the no itself that we're afraid of. It's our fear of how that no will be perceived.
Precisely. And that's where Stoicism comes in.
Okay.
Help us reframe our thinking. Instead of focusing on what other people might think, we can shift our attention to what's truly within our control, our own thoughts, actions, and our own responses.
Okay, so once we understand that our perception is the problem, not the other person's request, what's the next step?
Well, this source argues that setting clear boundaries is an essential part of breaking free from people-pleasing. But it's not about, like, building walls or shutting people out.
Right.
It's about having the power to choose what we allow into our lives.
That's a really interesting distinction.
Yeah.
It's not about becoming an island.
Right?
It's about taking ownership of our own space and our own energy.
Exactly. And the source uses a quote from Stephen Covey that really drives this point home. No one can hurt you without your consent.
Wow, that's powerful. So it's really about reclaiming our power to choose how we respond to situations. It's about giving ourselves permission to say no without feeling guilty or selfish.
Right. And the source gives a great example. Let's say a colleague asks for your help when you're already overwhelmed. Instead of automatically saying yes, which is the classic people-pleasing response, a Stoic approach would be to pause and assess the situation.
So instead of instantly agreeing to avoid disappointing them, we take a moment to consider our own needs and limits. That feels a lot more empowering already.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that our time and energy are valuable and that we have the right to protect them. The source suggests saying something like, I'd love to help, but I'm swamped right now. Can we talk about this later?
I love how that response is both honest and respectful.
Yeah.
It doesn't shut the person down,
Yeah.
but it also doesn't sacrifice your own well-being.
Exactly. And that's what's so brilliant about this Stoic approach to boundaries. It's not about being harsh or uncaring. It's about being assertive and true to yourself.
Okay, so we've talked about how understanding our perceptions and setting boundaries can help us break free from people-pleasing.
Right.
But I'm curious, the source also dives into this idea of prioritizing our own needs, which can feel kind of taboo, right?
Yeah.
Like, aren't we supposed to be selfless and put others first?
That's a common misconception. The source argues that taking care of ourselves is actually essential for being able to show up for others in a meaningful way. It uses a brilliant analogy, the airplane oxygen mask.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Yeah.
You have to secure your own mask before you can help anyone else. It's so simple, yet so profound.
Exactly. If we're constantly running on empty, trying to meet everyone else's expectations, we'll eventually burn out and be of no use to anyone.
That's such a good point. It's like trying to pour from an empty cup. You can't give what you don't have. So how do we actually start prioritizing ourselves? Where do we even begin?
Well, the source suggests asking ourselves some key questions. What truly matters to me? What brings me joy and fulfillment?
Those are great questions. It's so easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of other people's demands that we forget to even ask ourselves what we want.
Right. And this is where Stoicism encourages us to tap into our own inner wisdom. It's about recognizing that our own happiness and well-being are just as important as anyone else's.
Okay, so we're starting to see a pattern here, right?
Yeah.
Understanding our perceptions, setting boundaries, and prioritizing ourselves are all interconnected pieces of this puzzle of breaking free from people-pleasing. But I'm curious, is there anything else in this source that stands out to you?
There is. The source then goes on to explore the importance of defining our core values. And this is where things get really interesting.
Okay, tell me more about that. I'm all ears.
Well, The source argues that our values act as our compass, guiding our decisions and actions.
Yeah.
When we have a clear understanding of what truly matters to us, it becomes much easier to say no to things that don't align with those values.
That makes perfect sense. It's like having a filter for our choices. We can assess each request and ask ourselves, does this resonate with what I believe in? Does this honor who I am at my core?
Exactly. And the source challenges us with a powerful question. When was the last time you compromised your principles to please someone? Was it worth it?
Oof, that's a tough one. It makes me think about all the times I've said yes to things that didn't feel right just to avoid disappointing someone. And in the end, I usually ended up feeling resentful or even betraying my own sense of integrity.
Right. And Stoicism reminds us that true fulfillment comes from aligning our actions with our core beliefs. It's about living a life that feels authentic and true to who we are.
I love how this source connects back to the Stoic philosophers.
Yeah.
It mentioned Seneca, who said, if one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable. That's such a great metaphor.
Isn't it? It highlights how crucial it is to know our own destination, our own values, in order to navigate life's challenges and make choices that lead us toward a life we genuinely desire.
Right.
Without that clear sense of direction, we're just drifting at the mercy of other people's expectations and demands.
Okay, so we've established that defining our values is essential for escaping the people-pleasing cycle. But I'm curious, how do we actually apply this in our day-to-day lives? It feels kind of abstract.
Yeah.
What does the source suggest?
The source dives into the practical step of evaluating requests, and it suggests something that at first might seem counterintuitive. Take a pause before responding. Don't just automatically say yes.
I see where you're going with this. It's about breaking that autopilot response
Yeah.
and really considering whether the request aligns with our values and our goals.
Right.
It's about putting on our stoic detective hats and carefully examining the situation.
Exactly. It's about asking ourselves those key questions. Does this align with what I believe in? Will it contribute to my overall well-being? Or will it drain my energy and leave me feeling depleted?
And sometimes that means saying no,
Right.
even if it's to a close friend or a family member.
Right. The source gives an example of a friend asking for help with a personal project.
Right.
And you might genuinely want to help, but if you're already stretched thin or if it doesn't feel aligned with your current priorities, it's perfectly okay to decline.
And it's not about being cold or uncaring. It's about respecting your own limits and communicating them clearly and honestly.
Exactly. A sincere no is often more respectful than a resentful yes. It shows that you're being true to yourself and that you value your own time and energy.
Okay, so far we've covered some incredibly powerful strategies for breaking free from people-pleasing. Understanding our perceptions, setting boundaries, prioritizing ourselves, defining our values, and evaluating requests. But I'm sure there's more to uncover. What comes next in our deep dive?
There's definitely more. The source tackles something a lot of people find difficult. Conflict.
Oh, interesting. Conflict is something I think a lot of people, myself included, try to avoid at all costs.
Right.
Is the source saying we should be like picking fights?
Not exactly. What's fascinating here is how the source reframes conflict. It encourages us to see it not as something to be feared, but as a potential opportunity for growth. And it uses Stoicism to help us do just that.
Okay, so how does Stoicism help us see conflict differently?
Well, Stoicism at its core is all about focusing on what we can control.
Okay.
We can't control other people's opinions or actions, but we can control our own reactions and responses.
Right.
The source uses this principle to encourage us to look inward when it comes to conflict.
So instead of blaming the other person or trying to avoid the situation altogether, we should be asking ourselves why we are reacting the way we are.
Precisely. The source prompts us to ask ourselves some tough questions. Why are we so afraid of conflict?
Yeah.
Is it because we're worried about damaging relationships? Or maybe it's a deeper fear of being seen as difficult or unlikable.
That makes a lot of sense. I know for me, I often shy away from conflict because I worry about hurting someone's feelings or being perceived as aggressive.
And that's a very common reaction. But the source makes an important point. Sometimes avoiding conflict actually does more harm than good.
Really? How so?
Well, when we constantly suppress our own needs and feelings in order to avoid conflict, we're essentially silencing our authentic selves, and that can lead to resentment, frustration, and even a sense of losing ourselves in our relationships.
Wow, that's a powerful insight. So it's not about becoming a conflict seeker, but rather recognizing that conflict, when approached with a stoic mindset, can actually be a catalyst for growth and deeper understanding.
Exactly. It's about shifting our perspective from conflict equals failure to conflict equals an opportunity to learn and strengthen our relationships.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this fits into the bigger picture of breaking free from people-pleasing.
Yeah.
If we're constantly avoiding conflict, we're essentially giving other people the power to dictate our boundaries.
Right. And this is where the Source reminds us that true strength, from a Stoic perspective, comes not from avoiding difficult situations, but from facing them head-on with wisdom and courage.
So instead of seeing conflict as a threat, we can reframe it as a chance to assert our needs, clarify our boundaries, and actually deepen our connection with the other person.
Precisely. And the Source emphasizes that healthy relationships allow space for both individuals to express themselves authentically, even when there are disagreements.
That's a really important reminder. It's not about always agreeing or suppressing our true feelings. It's about creating a space where both people feel safe to be themselves, even when things get a little messy.
Exactly. And sometimes facing that messiness, having those tough conversations, can actually strengthen the bond because it shows a willingness to be vulnerable and to work through challenges together.
This is so eye-opening. It's like the Source is giving us permission to embrace the full spectrum of human experience, including those moments of friction and disagreement. It's not about being perfect or always pleasing. It's about showing up authentically and navigating the complexities of relationships with honesty and integrity.
Absolutely. And speaking of honesty and integrity, the Source then dives into a skill that is absolutely crucial for breaking free from people-pleasing: the art of saying no.
Okay, I have to admit, saying no is something I still struggle with. It feels so much easier to just say yes and avoid any potential discomfort.
I think many of us feel that way, but the Source argues that saying no is not about being mean or rejecting the other person.
Right.
It's about honoring our own needs and limits. It's about choosing what truly matters to us and making choices that align with our values.
So it's really an act of self-respect, not selfishness.
Exactly. And it's often more respected than a hesitant or resentful yes.
Yeah.
A clear and sincere no communicates that you're being true to yourself and that you value your own time and energy.
I love how the Source highlights that we don't owe anyone an explanation or justification for our choices. We can simply say no without feeling the need to defend ourselves or make excuses.
That's such a liberating concept, isn't it? It takes the pressure off of feeling like we have to constantly please everyone and gives us the freedom to make choices that are truly authentic to who we are.
And I imagine that the more we practice saying no, the easier it becomes.
Absolutely. It's like building a muscle. The more we exercise our no muscle, the stronger it gets, and the less daunting it feels to assert our needs and boundaries.
That's so encouraging. It feels like we're really starting to equip ourselves with practical tools to break free from those automatic people-pleasing patterns and step into a more empowered way of being.
And there's more. The Source emphasizes the importance of ditching the excuses when we decline a request. This might seem counterintuitive at first, but it's actually incredibly powerful.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more. Why are excuses a problem?
The Source argues that when we offer excuses, we're essentially opening the door for negotiation or manipulation.
Oh.
It's like we're giving the other person ammunition to try and change our minds.
I see what you mean. It's like we're not fully owning our no.
Yeah.
We're leaving room for doubt and giving the other person a chance to poke holes in our decision.
Exactly. But when we offer a simple and direct no without any excuses, it communicates that our decision is final and that we're serious about protecting our boundaries. It's about being clear, concise, and unwavering.
The Source even quotes Marcus Aurelius here, which feels so fitting. If it's not right, don't do it. If it's untrue, don't say it.
That's such a great quote. It really encourages us to live with integrity and to make choices that align with our deepest values.
And it's not about being rude or dismissive. It's about being honest and direct, both with ourselves and with the other person.
Exactly. And the Source gives a helpful example. Imagine a friend asks for help with something, but you're either too busy or simply don't feel comfortable helping. Instead of saying, I can't help because I have something else to do, a more direct approach would be to simply say, sorry, I'm unable to help with that.
I love that. It's straightforward, it's respectful, and it leaves no room for interpretation.
And it demonstrates that you're not trying to sugarcoat things or make up excuses. You're simply stating your decision with clarity and confidence.
So by ditching the excuses, we're not only simplifying our interactions, but also strengthening our sense of self-respect and reinforcing our boundaries.
Right.
We're essentially saying, this is where I stand, this is what I'm willing to do, and this is what I'm not willing to do.
Right. And that clarity can be incredibly empowering, both for ourselves and for the people around us. It sets the stage for more authentic and respectful relationships.
This is all making so much sense. It feels like we're really starting to piece together a powerful framework for breaking free from people-pleasing and embracing a more stoic approach to life. But I'm curious, is there anything else in this source that we haven't touched on yet? What other gems has it revealed to us?
There is. The source delivers a truly liberating message. You can't please everyone.
I feel like that's a statement that should be printed on T-shirts and hung on refrigerator magnets.
Yeah.
It's so true, yet so easy to forget.
It is, isn't it? It's like a weight lifted off our shoulders the moment we truly accept this truth. And the source dives into the implications of this realization through the lens of Stoicism.
Okay, I'm all ears. How does Stoicism help us embrace this idea that we can't please everyone?
Well, remember that Stoicism is all about focusing on what we can control.
Right.
We can't control other people's opinions or reactions, but we can control our own thoughts, actions, and responses.
Right. So instead of wasting energy trying to win everyone's approval, we can redirect that energy towards living in alignment with our own values and principles.
Exactly. And the source uses a quote from Marcus Aurelius that beautifully captures this essence. Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking.
That's so powerful. It's a reminder that true happiness and fulfillment come not from external validation or trying to fit ourselves into other people's molds, but from cultivating inner peace and living authentically.
Precisely. And the source uses the example of Socrates, who was ridiculed and criticized for his unconventional teachings. Despite facing intense opposition, he stayed true to his values and lived a life of integrity.
That's such a great example. It shows that even the most influential and impactful people in history faced criticism and disapproval. It's impossible to please everyone, and trying to do so only leads to frustration, self-doubt, and a loss of our authentic selves.
Absolutely. And the source emphasizes that accepting this truth, embracing the fact that we can't please everyone, is a crucial step toward freedom and meaning. It's about releasing the burden of seeking external validation and turning our attention inward towards cultivating a deep and unwavering sense of self-worth.
I love that. It's like we're giving ourselves permission to be imperfectly ourselves, to embrace our quirks and our flaws, and to stop trying to be everything to everyone.
Exactly. And that authenticity, that willingness to embrace our true selves is what ultimately attracts genuine connections and creates a sense of inner peace that can't be shapen by external opinions or judgments.
This is all so inspiring. It feels like we're really starting to unlock the secrets to living a more authentic and fulfilling life. But I have to be honest, breaking free from those deeply ingrained people-pleasing patterns feels like a daunting task. Where do we even begin?
It can feel overwhelming, right? Especially if we've spent years operating on autopilot, constantly putting other people's needs before our own. It's like we've built this elaborate people-pleasing machine and now we have to reprogram it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So baby steps are key. What kind of baby steps does the source suggest we take?
Well, it emphasizes the importance of starting with small challenges, things that feel slightly outside of our comfort zone, but not completely terrifying. It's about gradually building our confidence and proving to ourselves that we can say no without the world falling apart.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like we're slowly dipping our toes into the water instead of diving headfirst into the deep end. Do you have any examples of what these small challenges might look like?
Absolutely. The source gives the example of a dinner invitation. Imagine you receive an invitation to a dinner party, but you're not really feeling up to it. Maybe you're tired, or maybe you just want to spend a quiet evening at home. Instead of forcing yourself to go out of obligation, challenge yourself to politely decline.
Okay, I can see how that would be a good starting point. It's a low-stakes situation, but it still requires us to exercise that no muscle.
Right.
And the more we do it, the easier it becomes.
Exactly. It's about breaking that autopilot response and proving to ourselves that we can prioritize our own needs without feeling guilty or selfish. And each time we successfully assert ourselves, we're strengthening that muscle of self-respect.
I love that. It's like we're slowly rewiring our brains to prioritize our own well-being, which ultimately benefits us and the people around us. The more grounded and centered we are, the more we can show up authentically in our relationships.
Precisely. And the source reminds us that those small victories start to add up, creating a ripple effect in other areas of our lives. It's about building momentum and gradually expanding our comfort zone.
I'm starting to realize that a lot of people-pleasing stems from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of not being liked. But by taking those small challenges, we're essentially proving to ourselves that those fears are often unfounded.
That's such a brilliant insight. We're building evidence that we can say no without the world falling apart. And as we gain confidence, we can start tackling bigger challenges and setting firmer boundaries in all areas of our lives.
This is all so empowering. It feels like we're not just learning about Stoicism, we're actually embarking on a journey of self-discovery and transformation.
It's a journey, not a destination. And Stoicism reminds us that every moment, every interaction, every choice is an opportunity to practice self-control and live in alignment with our values.
So it's about being patient with ourselves, celebrating the small victories, and trusting that the process will lead us to a more authentic and fulfilling life.
And remembering that even setbacks are opportunities for learning and growth. They're not failures, they're simply feedback that helps us course correct and refine our approach.
This deep dive has been incredible. I feel like I've gained so much clarity and so many practical tools to break free from those people-pleasing patterns that have been holding me back for far too long.
It's been a pleasure exploring these concepts with you. I'm always amazed by how relevant Stoicism is to our modern lives. And this source really showcases the power of applying these ancient principles to contemporary challenges.
It's a reminder that true wisdom is timeless, and that these philosophers were grappling with many of the same questions and struggles that we face today. And this source provides us with a roadmap, not just for understanding Stoicism, but for actually integrating it into our lives and creating a ripple effect of positive change.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that true freedom and happiness come not from external validation or trying to please everyone around us, but from cultivating inner peace and living in alignment with our values.
Right.
And that's a message that I think we can all take to heart no matter where we are on our journey of personal growth. So before we wrap up this incredible deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay.
What's one small challenge you can set for yourself this week that will help you step outside of your comfort zone and practice some of the Stoic principles we've discussed today?
Perhaps it's politely declining an invitation that doesn't feel right, or setting a boundary with a colleague who's constantly demanding your time. Or maybe it's simply taking a few moments each day to reflect on your values and reconnect with what truly matters to you.
The key is to start small, be patient with yourself, and celebrate each step you take toward living a more authentic and fulfilling life. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep striving to live a life that's true to you.